All right, 1 Kings 3, let's call this one Established and subtitle it To Do Justice, because unlike the rest of this week's set of lessons, those are both quotes that are going to come out of both 1 Kings 2 and 1 Kings 3, because in 1 Kings 2, twice it's going to let us know that Solomon's reign had been established, and it's going to remind us of that in chapter 3, where it's going to show us, like we said before, receipts that his kingdom had been established to do justice, which is what his reputation in Israel is already going to be by the time we get out of chapter 3. But before we get there, he is going to start out with something that's going to actually seem to be some of the seeds of his later troubles when he reaches a marriage alliance with the king of Egypt. And if you know much about Solomon's story, you're going to know he had a lot of wives and a lot of concubines, and they eventually, as God warned, are going to turn his heart away from God. But before we get there, the chapter is going to make it clear that Solomon loved God and he followed God. And for that reason, God basically wrote him a blank check. He's going to come to Solomon in a dream. He's going to say, ask of me what you would have me do for you. And Solomon is going to say, and this is my paraphrase, seeming to scratch his head. He's going to say, well, you were with my dad because he was a righteous man and he tried to do what was right, notwithstanding his faults. But I'm a young man, and I can't say that I necessarily have enough of a grip on right and wrong to be able to judge an entire nation. So will you give me the understanding to be able to discern right and wrong for an entire nation of people who need justice? And God, pleased with the request, saying, you could have asked for all kinds of things for yourself, but because you asked for something to benefit the people, I'm going to give you the understanding and all the personal blessings you could have asked for. And for the rest of this chapter, we're going to see the ways in which God can quickly answer prayers in ways that are obvious even to us, as Solomon goes on to wake up from this dream and throw a feast. And not long after that feast, it's going to tell us that two prostitutes actually come to him with a dispute. Both had children, but one child died as the mother rolled over onto the child in her sleep. The mother who was bringing the complaint to Solomon woke up with the dead child, but looked more closely in the morning and realized, wait a minute, this isn't my baby. And so she is coming to the king, hoping to have him restore her child to her. But the woman who has the child isn't willing to admit that she's actually taken another woman's child. Solomon, seeing two women and one child, yells for a sword. As they bring him a sword, he says, since you all can't agree whose child it is, cut him in half, which is going to terrify one of the women who says, just take him. The other, seemingly so bitter that she's simply willing to see the other woman in misery, says, fine, cut him in half. At which point Solomon realizes that can't be the child's mother. And so he gives the child to the one who cared enough to simply see the child live, even if it was in the hands of someone who wasn't truly the child's mother. And so with that, much like we talked about David encouraging Solomon to show himself a man, giving receipts, we're getting hefty receipts early for a king who is competent to do justice. God himself giving us receipts for Solomon's wisdom in the way that he treated two prostitutes, those it might be easy to just overlook, reminding us of what Jesus himself said when he let us know that those who are genuinely his will genuinely care about the least of these.